Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the greatest crossover in gaming. Let's milk it. There have been many thoughts out there on what the next Smash Bros. Will be. Ultimate seems like it will be the last Smash Bros. Game, as it is full of characters across different IPs, over 100 stages, over 900 music tracks, over 1,000 spirits, loads of modes, an adventure mode, and plenty of Mii Fighter costumes. I mean, how in Sakurai's stupendous series can you talk about? Well, obviously, Ultimate isn't the last Smash Bros, as it would be wrong to just drop this franchise after it gaining so much traction. But in what form will the next Smash Bros be? Subscribe for more videos like this. Let's get started. There is a slight chance that it could be a mobile game. Now. This could work. Slap on a joystick an A button, a B button, a ZR button, and an R button, and you've created rock bottom Smash Bros. They may need to make some adjustments to the formula for this to properly work, but overall I think a mobile game of Smash Bros is a long shot. Another idea is simply a port of Ultimate. This is probably the most likely thing they will do, as Ultimate seems as big as it can possibly be. They would just make all the DLC free, add on some spirits and music maybe, and even bring back old stages. Then they can make a booster course pass for it. But this is a boring idea. What if they made a 3D Smash Bros? This could be a spin-off to the series, as it would be entirely different in terms of gameplay, and there would probably be less characters than usual. The controls could simply be joystick to move, Y or X to jump, and A to attack. How could you perform tilts, ups and downs? Well, tilt attacks would pretty much be the same, but if you want to do an upward attack, you'd need to press L and A at the same time. And for downward, it would be R and A. This may sound terrible. And it is. What else could you do? Specials would also work the same way. But this idea is quite bizarre and most likely won't happen. It would be cool though. Now for my thoughts. What do I think Sakurai will do for the next Smash Bros. Game? Call me crazy, but I think it will be a new game. I know. Smash Ultimate seems it can't get any bigger, but here's my hypothesis. Sakurai has achieved insane things throughout Ultimate, like bringing back every old character, adding over 90 characters in total, and getting Disney's approval to add Sora. I think he is insane enough to just make a new game, but I don't think he would just start from scratch, as that would be a waste of time. Now I will talk about what I think will be in this Smash Bros. Game, the characters, stages, modes, etc. As for the name, I have a few ideas. Some of the previous Smash games have fighting words in the name, like Melee and Brawl. So you know what I did? I looked up synonyms for Brawl and came up with Super Smash Bros. Hardyhood. Nah, I'm kidding. I wanted to think of something original that stands out, but the best I could do was Super Smash Bros. Clash, which I will call it for now. Put some better names in the comments, but don't do Smash Bros. Legends, that's boring. I think from now on, Sakurai won't remove any previous character, as just randomly putting everyone into one game would be pretty odd and wouldn't make the new game feel as special. I'm gonna pick the most logical characters with some more out there ones by the end. I'm not necessarily picking which ones I would like, but I am also taking inspiration from that fighter palette from like 2015. Firstly, I say get Bandana Waddle Dee into the game. He's been a highly requested Waddle Dee for years. He's got a pretty big role in Forgotten Land and is the last piece of the main Kirby gang. Speaking of last piece, Waluigi. Now I know Sakurai has stated that he will never be put into Smash, but they actually found a decent answer to the problem. Joke characters. The side DLC character you could get from pre-ordering the game was Piranha Plant. He was kinda treated as a weird side character. Why not do that with Waluigi too? It could work. Another Mario character that I think would be added is Geno, and I think this is more than likely at this point. Firstly, Sakurai himself has been wanting him playable since Brawl, and secondly, a remake exists now. This is the perfect time to add him in. Another character Sakurai has wanted is Rex from Xenoblade Chronicles. I always thought it was weird that Pyre and Myth are got in before Rex. Not that I, actually want him. Sans, Cuphead, Lloyd, and Bomberman are now likely candidates for fighters, as they have received Mii costumes in Ultimate. Bomberman also has an assist trophy. I especially would like to see Sans. He is one of my favourite gaming characters. I don't think Vault Boy or Doom Guy would get in despite being Mii costumes, as I don't think Sakurai likes that kind of stuff. If Smash Bros is going to stick to trends, then I think they're going to add more Fire Emblem characters, and I think it would be the Colgate mascot, Allier. I honestly wouldn't mind this character getting in, but at the same time there are better options. I think Rayman has a decent shot at coming out of the ice. Nintendo and Ubisoft have collaborated countlessly and have recently released DLC for Sparks of Hope, and the rabbits have Mii costumes too. But if they're adding a Ubisoft character, they're adding Rayman. A Gen 8 Pokemon trader would be cool to see. They'd be able to spawn in Score Bunny, Blue Frog, and Green Dude. I'm too lazy to look up the names. Finally, I think it's about time the rest of the Star Fox crew got in. Sleepy and Peppy could be interesting characters, but they'd probably need to give all the Star Fox characters different final smashes, as 5 of the same would be a bit much. Maybe bring back the Landmaster somehow. As for new stages, I think the next game will follow the trend of making new stages based off of the newer games, just like what Ultimate did. Firstly, I think the Sky Islands from Tears of the Kingdom would be pretty cool, especially for the scenery alone. Imagine they modeled in all of Hyrule just for the stage. Next, I think a Splatoon 3 stage would be logical. I decided to go with Scorch Gorge. I know the stage isn't that good in the game and something like Robo Ramen would be better, but I think that they would choose the most popular stage from the game. The Flower Kingdom from Mario Wonder would actually be pretty awesome, especially if it could cycle through different areas and each area would have a different wonder effects like pipes moving or something like that. If you went near the Talking Flower, it could talk to you kinda like the Xenoblade 2 stage. Finally, for Bowser's Fury, I think Mount Magmeow would be a great idea. The background could have the Fury sunrise, and at some point, Fury Bowser would spawn in and shoot a fire laser towards the stage. That'd be pretty nifty. As for the modes, I've thought of a few new ones, but before that, I want to share the modes that I think could come back with some adjustments. As for the returning modes, Target Smash would be great to see return. An idea I had is to give it extra challenges, like using as little moves as possible so you can go for some cheesy records. Or the platform should return too, since it hasn't been brought back since the first Smash Bros, which I think is a shame. Target Blast should return, but only because I want to see some kind of Angry Birds representation in my fighting game. Smash Run was a super fun mode on the 3DS, and it would be even funner with all the new characters. A new adventure mode is pretty likely, but I would like to see it more platform based like the Subspace Emissary was. As for the new modes I have thought of, my first one is called Healing Punch. This will be a more strategy based mode that you can put into your matches. Firstly, everyone would have a permanent flower on their head and start with a handicap of around 40%. Over time, the flower will cause everyone's damage to increase, but the main catch is that everyone's attacks will do the opposite amount of damage it's supposed to do. Basically, it will heal the opponent. But attacks will still launch opponents further based on what percentage they were originally at. This means that you can either wait for your enemy's health to go up to kill them easier, but risk getting killed yourself, or you can risk trying to kill your opponent earlier, but you will heal them, meaning that you need to wait longer to kill. I'm very proud of this idea, but you'd probably be able to choose the starting handicap, as some characters could just kill you at 40% anyway. Another idea for a new mode is larger blast zones. This can be an option in the menu or something, and you'll be able to toggle how many times bigger the blast zone is, like 1.5 times more, 2 times more. And it would only grow from the point it's off the screen, not from the center, as that would be a bit much. This would make enemies die at much higher percentages, make it harder to recover, and most importantly, make Flat Zone X a legal stage. Rhythm mode is another idea I have for a new mode. Basically, if you attack your opponent to the beat of the song, then it will inflict more damage, even being a critical hit. Some songs may need to be removed or adjusted for this to work properly. For my final idea, how about a mode where you can go against the various assist trophies present in the game? There could be customizable stocks, assist trophy health, and maybe even an all-star mode where you can fight them all at once. Obviously, this would only include the assist trophies you can actually KO. Some additional things I would like to see added to this game is an additional side taunt. The left and right D-pad buttons could be separated into 2 different taunts. I would also like better online. That's it. That's all I ask. The recent Minecraft updates have given me one feeling. Confusion. Why is it called Trails and Tales when there's not a single tail in sight? What on earth is the newest update going to be called? What, the Bogged and Dogged update? The Trials and Tiles update? The Fights and Bites update? The recent updates 1.18, 1.19, 1.20 and 1.21 all have one thing in common. They don't have a distinctive theme, even if Mojang likes to pretend they do. Which is why today I will talk about ideas for themed ideas for updates. Here I have a tier list. S tier is the updates that I think are guaranteed to happen at one point, and D tier is the updates that I'll be coping for and most likely won't happen. I will also suggest ideas for what to put into these updates. Subscribe for more videos like this. Let's get started. Firstly, and probably the most requested update, the End update. I am putting this right into S tier. At this point, every major aspect of Minecraft has been updated. The overworld and its generation, villages, structures being given armor trims, the nether being completely overhauled, oceans being given more mobs, biomes and structures, and caves being given similar treatment. The end is likely to be given the same treatment eventually too. It only makes sense. They could give it new biomes and structures and stuff like that. Up next is a farm update, and the reason I'm putting this into A tier is because of the sniffer, since it kinda is like a mini farm update which adds 2 new crops that no one cares about. However, this is bound to happen eventually. What I think they should add for new crops is turnips and sweet corn, because why not? Following that is a desert update, which I think is B tier. I think this update is a 50-50. On the one hand, the desert has already lost as a candidate to the biome vote already, and just getting a desert update alone might not happen. On the other hand, the swamp did eventually get its update even after losing the biome vote, so it can still happen if Mojang is willing enough. I think it would be cool if they added an oasis, which could contain some rare blocks of some kind to reference how important oases are to deserts in real life. They could also add fossils to the land for some world building. A Savannah update probably isn't going to happen, so I'll put it into C. It still definitely could happen, and it could add things like tigers or something, but it would be very weird to make an update on just the Savannah. The mob vote update. I'll put this into D tier. I do think they will add some mob vote mobs eventually, but stuffing them all into one update would just be weird. Ah yes, the mob vote update. What's next? The president vote update. An update fantasized by those who lack creative liberties. The furniture update. D tier. Mojang themselves has stated that furniture will never be added to Minecraft since it destroys the creativity of trying to make parts of a home yourself, and I wholeheartedly agree, so I think it's best that this update doesn't happen. A structure update. This update can focus on updating previous structures and adding a few new ones to give the world some more life. I'm gonna put this into B tier. I think this is a 50-50 on being a standalone update. They also kinda did this by giving most structures armor trims, which is very nice. The one and only biome update. Well, not really the one and only. This update will be what you expect. It could add new biomes like a rainforest or a volcano island. There are only a few major types of biomes in the game, so it would be cool to see this expanded upon, so I'll put this into A tier. Tatooine update. D tier. Why would Minecraft make an update based solely on trees? Well, I guess they could add a treehouse structure and more advanced trees and... yeah, an animal update would be pretty cool. Expanding the life of Minecraft could very well happen. They could add zebras to savannas, eagles to mesas, lizards, monkeys, and all that stuff. I'll put this into A tier, but it is close to S tier. Finally, the Angry Birds update, which I'll put into S tier. A few weeks ago, Nintendo woke up in a cold sweat at 3 AM and said, "Yep, the rumors are true, be quiet." The Switch's successor was announced to be happening soon, and will be unveiled at the end of this year. I remember seeing rumors for the Switch 2 back in like 2021, and I swore I heard people saying that the Switch would end in 2022. Get those people an Exorcist. But now I can see why it's happening now. Nintendo's lineup of games this year consists of remakes and random third parties, so it's pretty clear why the Switch 2 is happening soon. But what exactly will the Switch 2 be? What games will come with it? When will it release? Today I will answer all these questions with half-baked answers. Subscribe for more videos like this, let's get started. Firstly, what is the console going to be called? Nintendo's console sequels in the past have had it somewhat rough with sales, and part of the reason for this is down to the name. The Wii U only sold 13 million copies, and that's due to you. The U in the name, and you did not buy this console. So people thought that the Wii U was some kind of accessory for the Wii, especially since the Wii was already an accessory-heavy console. The 3DS isn't nearly as bad, as it sold 75 million copies. This is because people actually knew what it was, and since the DS was insanely successful, people would want to buy this too. So taking all these previous endeavors Nintendo has done, we know that the name not only needs to be unique enough to stand on its own, but it also has to have the word Switch in there somewhere. But it also can't be too vague of a name, and it has to show what the console actually is. So I went with the Nintendo Switch Max. I've named it this for a few reasons. 1. The console is a normal Nintendo Switch, but upgraded to the Max. 2. It is unique, so it won't be confused with the normal Switch. And 3. People named Max will easily be drawn in. So for the rest of this video, I will call this console the Switch Max. But what exactly will this console even be like? Nintendo's had a rough history with the power of their consoles. This is because they like to focus on the more fun and gimmicky side the console has to offer. The PlayStation and Xbox always has had the stronger consoles, however I don't really think Nintendo gives a damn about this. But since this is an upgraded Switch, they need to make some adjustments. Firstly, I think the internal storage will jump from 32GB to 64GB. One of the biggest criticisms of the base Switch is its lack of storage. If you were to buy lots of third-party games for the Switch, there's a good chance you would get nowhere. So I think having double the storage will result in half the screaming. Next, I think the RAM will be upgraded from 4GB of RAM to 6GB. This jump isn't that tremendous, but this is Nintendo we're talking about. They probably think RAM stands for really anti-mandatory. I think the battery life of the Switch in handheld mode will step up from 4 to 9 hours to 6 to 11 hours. I really hope this is upgraded because my current Switch that I've had for 7 years lasts like 25 minutes now. And finally, the age-old question. Will the Switch Max be backwards compatible with Switch games? Yes, this is a no-brainer move. I don't know why people are concerned over this. If it isn't backwards compatible, I am not getting this console. Now I know all this junk will result in a more expensive price for the Switch Max, but let me dream. Will the Switch Max herself come with anything new in terms of hardware? Well, I think it will add a camera and a microphone. These honestly feel and don't feel necessary at this point, but for a handheld hybrid like this, I think they're quite important. The screen will also increase in size by about 1 centimeter in length. I know, shocking. The Switch Joy-Cons to me are like moths. I don't like them. Okay, I don't think they're that awful, but man, these things are a disappointment. Back whenever I heard about these controllers for the first time, I was amazed at the possibilities they could provide, especially for multiplayer. I remember going to a Smith's toy store, and me and my brother got a chance to play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch in handheld form, and we played multiplayer with a Joy-Con each. This pretty much sold me on the Switch. 7 years later, I look at these things and ask why. So I have upgraded the Joy-Cons. Here is how they previously looked, and here is how they look now. As you can see, the left Joy-Con has a D-pad instead of the normal buttons. This will be nicer for single player, but if you are using just this controller, it may not be easy to use. But to that I say, what are you doing using only the left Joy-Con as a controller? Both of the Joy-Cons will also come with a scroll wheel. There have been plenty of leaks saying that a scroll wheel of some sort will be present on the controller. Sakurai has even asked Nintendo to do this, so it could very well happen. On top of all that, the size will be adjusted to be more comfortable in your hands. As for the Pro controller, it will also get a scroll wheel and will have analog triggers. This could be really cool for games like Mario Kart or F-Zero. Lastly, the battery life of this controller will be increased from 40 hours to 70 hours. The reason for this is the Wii U Pro controller was 70 to 80 hours, and seeing as the Wii U was an upgrade to the Wii, I think the same approach will be taken here. Other than that, I don't think much needs to be changed about the Pro controller. It's pretty much perfect. The user interface for the base Switch has received some polarizing reception. For me, I really like the simple design of the Switch menu. I don't think the layout itself needs to change, it's the design that needs to be. The Switch took a more corporate approach when making the menus. There's no music, no themes, or no flair. So I'm going to improve it. Ba-bam! This redesign focuses more on the color red, as that's the trademark color of the Switch and Nintendo as a whole. The background will also be more appealing. There will also be toggleable themes to choose from. I've also added a dedicated Me button, because having to navigate to the menu was quite weird. On top of that, there will be music composed for this menu. I actually made this song myself, and if you want to hear the full version, check out and subscribe to our music channel. Just don't click on any of the other music present there. This redesign should satisfy more people than the original did. Alright. It's time to talk about the games. I have cooked up some ideas for upcoming games the Switch Max can have. Firstly, it's a bold idea, and it probably won't happen, but a Splatoon trilogy. People are missing Splatoon 1, and Splatoon 2 and 3 will eventually get shut down too. So how about we treasure these games and keep them untouched? Next, for a Zelda game, The Legend of Zelda... Something of the Something. Alright, so what I think will happen for the title will follow what Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom did, and used of the... to show that these two games were both the same kind of game. I think, however, they will make a completely new map, as it would be too derivative to use the same one for a third time in a row. And considering the success of the other two games, Nintendo would be out of their mind to not make another open world Zelda again. As for the 3D Mario game, Mario Odyssey 2. I know, amazing box art. I feel like a sequel to Mario Odyssey was a no-brainer, but I guess it wasn't for the original Switch. Mario Odyssey has had more potential than any other Mario game. Sure, Mario Galaxy 3 would be pretty hype, but it would be unfair for Galaxy to get another game but not Odyssey. Odyssey 2 could be insane, with brand new levels to explore, new enemies to capture, and new missions to complete. For the 2D Mario, I don't have any real ideas on what they could do. However, I want to emphasize how I think a Mario Wonder 2 could be a bad idea. I think that Mario Wonder should be a game that stands on its own, and doesn't get oversaturated just like how New Super Mario Bros. Did. Especially if it got a game style in Mario Maker, which I'm also not too bored with the idea of. Metroid Prime 4 I think is almost guaranteed to happen since it has been in the work for nearly 8 years, so now is a good stopping point for it on the Switch Max. For Smash Bros, I have already listed ideas for a potential Smash 6 in a previous video, so if you want more details you can see that. Lastly, I'm going to quick fire through some other ideas that I have. Mario Kart will indeed be a brand new game, but I might go in depth in that in a video in the future. Subscribe if you'd want to see that. Since Kirby's Return to Dreamland got ported over to the Switch, I think that one from the 3DS will come over to the Switch Max. Planet Robobot is loved by many people, so I think that will be the one they will choose. A 3D Kirby will take center stage, however, since they have the basics down for Kirby in 3D. A Pikmin, Xenoblade, Pokemon, and Animal Crossing game will eventually happen at some point too. And Angry Birds. Finally, the release date. When will this console come out? Plenty of Nintendo consoles in the past have released in November. This is due to it being near Christmas, so sales will be quicker than normal. So I'm gonna round it up and say that it will release around November 16th. Mainly because it's my birthday then. I want you, the viewer, to close your eyes. I want you to imagine that it is 2012 and that you're sitting in the back of your parents' car and you have your mum's phone on you. Now what are you doing? Playing Angry Birds. Now I want you to imagine the phone got whacked with a baseball bat. This is exactly what happened back in 2019. Angry Birds got deleted from the App Store, but why? And who could have done this? Well, I'll tell you who done it. It's gotta be the company that owns Angry Birds, the company that prioritizes money over their fans, the company that ignores feedback, uses lackluster marketing plans, ruins franchises. Say hello to Rovio. I have a rising beef with this company, and I think I can go as far to say that I think that it is the worst gaming company of all time. Fight me. EA, well, at least they're consistent with their game quality. Activision, at least they put some effort into advertising. Every aspect of Rovio as a company I have problems with, and today I'm going to run down all of these factors and expose why this company deserves to be hated. Let's get started. In 2019, Rovio has been making plenty of games, Angry Birds Action, Angry Birds Evolution, and continuing support for Angry Birds 2. And they realized, people aren't getting these games as much as they're getting our older ones. Well, what should we do about it? Well, what about we make these games their only option? Yep, that's right. A majority of the older Angry Birds games were deleted from the App Store. Now, they have stated a few reasons for doing this. Firstly, as I have said, it was so that they could focus more on their newer and arguably less quality games. There are a few reasons as to why this was a bad idea. There's no way this was the best way to give your other games more attention. If anything, you're probably giving them less attention, since people are going to be leaving the franchise after they saw what happened. And also, there's no way that they think that their newer games are worth keeping up more than their older ones. Let's compare Angry Birds Journey to Angry Birds Classic, shall we? Let's see here. Classic has more strategy with the 3-star system, more birds, more distinct levels, a less babyish art style, no battle pass, and cutscenes. Another reason they said they removed the old games is that modern software can handle these games as they were made for an outdated engine. Now this could be true, but there are some counterpoints. Firstly, they managed to keep up Bad Piggies and Angry Birds Friends and continue to update them. What makes the other ones different? And secondly, other similar games from other companies made at similar times, like Cut the Rope made by Zeptolab, and Half-Brick Selection's games is still up and running well. There's no way Rovio's games couldn't do the same thing as well. Every excuse that they have dug up, there's something that goes against it. And it just goes to show that Rovio handles their financial stability with as little care as my cat when I tell him I have depression. Oh no guys, our revenue is plummeting, what are we gonna do? It's just such an odd decision considering the fact that these games are what made Rovio so popular, so unique, so special. And now they're just like any other mobile game company on the market. And speaking of the market, I want to ask you something. When was the last time you saw any of Rovio's products advertised well? When was the last time they did anything more to promote than putting up a video on YouTube? Well, the only half-decent advertising they'd done in years was a Times Square billboard promoting their show Angry Birds Mystery Island. Rovio's recent games have all been shut down. Angry Birds Legends, shut down. Angry Birds Kingdoms, shut down. Rovio Classics Angry Birds, shut down. Bad Piggies 2, shut down. all because they didn't get enough traction or interest. I will live and die not seeing any gameplay of Angry Birds Tennis. Have you ever heard of Angry Birds Racing? Exactly. And why is that? Because of lack of advertising. I didn't even know that the classic Angry Birds plushies were re-released because I was never told, so they became very hard to get. It's not like Rovio has the money to do some promotion. Sega gave them $700 million in 2023. That's plenty to do at least a bit of marketing, but nope! They decide to spend it on a new Amazon Prime show called Angry Birds Mystery Island. Yeah, it's a mystery how they didn't expect this to fail. They did better advertising for the red body pillow than they did for Angry Birds Kingdoms. I am losing brain cells just processing that. Okay, so Rovio has to get their act cleared up if they want to have a successful future. And they haven't been doing a good job so far, as we can see. This is especially due to the fact that Rovio actively ignores their fans. Rovio put up a poll that would decide the art direction for Bad Piggies 2. This way, the fans can choose which design they would like the most. The three options were the classic designs, the Toons designs, and the movie designs. 93% of the votes went to the classic designs, 5% to the Toons designs, and 2% to the movie designs. And what did Rovio do? Well, movie designs it is. I swear, it's like they're actively trying to betray and lose their fanbase. They put up another poll on the Angry Birds gaming channel asking which Chuck design you like the most, and as you can see, 88% of the votes went to the Toons design, and the last time the Toons design was used in an Angry Birds game that's fully up was in Angry Birds Friends when the art style got updated in 2017. And the classic designs, the most liked one, hasn't been used since 2012. Something else that Rovio is aware of is the fact that the most liked Angry Birds character is Hal. They know this because they made an entire video listing 10 reasons as to why he's the best bird. So if they're aware of this, then why do they barely ever use him? And more importantly, why did they kill him? Now this probably doesn't mean that he's actually dead, of course, but he hasn't been used in a game since his inclusion in Angry Birds 2 in 2019. So who knows? Okay, so we've already established that the older games are gone, and we only have the scraps left in the App Store. Let's see what we have. We got Bad Piggies, okay, that's good. But then we got Angry Birds Transformers. Oh, but then we have Angry Birds Friends, that's a classic slingshot game. Barely. Okay, but what about Angry Birds Evolution? No. Or Angry Birds Blast. Or Mash 3. Or Pop. Or Pop Blast. Or Dream Blast. Okay, how many of these games does one need? Okay, but what about Angry Birds 2? That's the most supported Angry Birds game right now. Yes, a slingshot game. With hats. And an energy system. And microtransactions. And a gambling system. And a battle... okay. Well then what about Angry Birds Journey? Oh yeah, that has a battle pass too. So out of the options we have, if we take away any copy-pasted puzzle games, inferior versions of other games, and games that aren't supported anymore... Yep, that's it. Angry Birds 2. That's pretty much the only game Rovio supports nowadays. Every single other game that they've ever made is not supported anymore. Look at this tier list I found online. This is absolutely pitiful. Not to mention the fact that Angry Birds 2 is the only Angry Birds game that has a section on the Discord. And as of writing the script, Rovio released a video called Flock Forward, which is basically a video format showing announcements that will happen to Angry Birds 2. The weird thing about this is that they already have a similar video format that is similar to Sony's State of Play or a Nintendo Direct, and that covers all of Rovio's games that are currently up. But nope, the only game that is ever acknowledged by Rovio is Angry Birds 2. Now I gotta hand it to Rovio, as in this video they have admitted that the current state the game is in isn't great and that they're sorry that it's causing frustration to people, so it's good to know that they're trying to fix parts of the game that need fixing. But it only makes it painfully clear that they have no plans with any of their other games. The first half of 2024 has been pretty miserable in terms of Angry Birds news. The only notable thing that has happened for the past 7 months is the Angry Birds Movie 3 teaser and Angry Birds Mystery Island. That's it. Absolutely nothing related to the games, just outside media, and that's very disappointing. Not to mention the games themselves have been in a bad state recently. As I have said, Angry Birds 2 has added a battle pass system and an energy system, so you can only play the game just a select few times a day. Angry Birds Journey removed the story of the game in favour of a Fortnite Battle Pass. And all of this is being added because of Sega. I have had hopes that Sega would be able to give some light to Angry Birds, but they proceeded to bury it further and further into the ground. In terms of games that are upcoming, this is a culmination of every single problem I have with modern day Rovio. Firstly, I am baffled by the advertising of this. The only place I can find this is some Twitter posts that aren't from Rovio or Reddit posts. And also, to point out the elephant in the room, what am I looking at? This has to be AI generated. There is no way they actually thought this was a good idea. Like, what even is this? So will Rovio fall into bankruptcy? Well, I think if they keep going how they're going right now, making low effort stuff, doing little to no advertising, and continuing to ignore criticism, they might. Which is unfortunate to see. Rovio was a special company back in the day. They dominated the mobile game market for years, releasing good game after good game after good game. But they went down the rabbit hole of modern mobile gaming by making a dozen match-em games, rip-offs, and cash grabs. It feels like all the games Rovio makes these days are more so made out of spite rather than passion. The more popular side of Angry Birds these days is the fan games, because the fan base has had to survive for themselves without Rovio doing a damn thing with the franchise. So what have the fans done? Angry Birds Power Trouble, an Angry Birds classic follow-up with the gimmick of the birds' abilities being swapped and jumbled around. Angry Birds Refresh, a remake of Angry Birds Facebook that revives a good old version of Angry Birds Friends. Angry Birds Fight Reboot, a reboot of Angry Birds Fight, no way. And Angry Birds Go Ultimate and Angry Birds Go Nitro. Improved versions of Angry Birds Go with more gems and more things. So hopefully Rovio can clear their act soon, otherwise they are doomed to fall. Subscribe if you want more videos like this. Thanks for watching. Super Mario Galaxy is video gaming's peak platforming experience. Ever since its release in 2007, its various levels have been loved by many to this very day. Let's judge them, shall we? Today we are going on a tour throughout the Comet Observatory exploring its various worlds. And I know what you're thinking. Well, what do you mean by ranking the worlds? Well, basically, I will be ranking these worlds based on the galaxies they have in them to see which one has the best overall levels in the game and which ones we should keep in the dark part of the universe. Now, what classifies as a world is slightly confusing. Some could consider Rosalina to be a world, but I don't associate with those people. In the end, I decide on this as the final list of rooms or areas that I'll be ranking today. I will go through each room from worst to best and criticize them even if my heart says to not. Subscribe for more videos like this. Let's get started. Taking the spot as the worst room in Mario Galaxy, that sounds slightly insane, is the Gate. And that is simply because it only has 2 galaxies. Absolutely pitiful. I mean, the universe has 200 billion galaxies. How about that? Gateway Galaxy and Boo's Boneyard Galaxy are the featured galaxies of this world. Now these 2 levels aren't bad, but they're far from the best this game has to offer. Gateway Galaxy is the tutorial level, therefore it doesn't have much to it, and Boo's Boneyard Galaxy is quite cool as it has a race against Boo, but that's all it has to offer. The main problem with this room is just its lack of galaxies. If it had more of them, it could be higher on the list. But as it stands, the Gate's purpose is to store these 2 random ass levels that you only come back to in the post-game as Luigi. The 7th spot of this list is going to the Planet of Trials. As a kid, I always wondered how to get to that one planet that looked like a triangular highlighter. Turns out you need to collect the elusive green stars that are snugly hidden away in some levels. And once you collect them all, you can enter that pipe and you have a choice between 4 galaxies. The Rolling Gizmo Galaxy, which is a ball rolling level with weird mechanics, Bubble Blast Galaxy, which feels like a Kaizo level, Loopty Swoop Galaxy, which is a slightly harder Manta Ray mission, and Grand Finale Galaxy, the very exciting reward you get for 100%. Yeah, it's pretty clear that these levels have the sole purpose of being harder versions of the various missions in the game. They are here to be bonus missions after you get every other Power Star. This does make them the most challenging levels in the game. To some people, this could be great as the game is on the easier side, so to have some challenge is much appreciated, but just as many people don't really like these motion control missions in the game. So to have them again, but with extra barbecue sauce, could mentally be too much for some people to handle. I personally think these levels are fine, but feel like they were shoehorned in. Probably because they were. Now that we are away from the miscellaneous areas of the game, it's time for the rooms you'd find in Rosalina's Comet Observatory. Coming in at number 6 is the Engine Room. You know, for a massive galaxy exploring space station, I'm impressed this is what the engine room looks like. The levels contained in this room are as follows. The Gold Leaf Galaxy, which is a mirrored version of Honey Hive Galaxy with different stars. Sea Slide Galaxy, which is a level I like and has some fun missions. 20 Time Galaxy, which is one of this game's standout levels. Bonefin Galaxy, which just contains a forgettable boss fight. Sand Spiral, a very strange level that feels like a one and done deal. And Bowser Jr.'s Lava Reactor, which also contains a forgettable boss fight. So yeah, this room contains a copied level, 2 boss-only levels, 1 okay level, and 2 good levels. That isn't bad at all, but compared to the other rooms with more consistent highs, I can't say the engine room stacks up well against them. Yes, let's have the top floor of our space station, which has the least room, holds the Truman Show. Galaxies featured here are the Deep Dark Galaxy, which has always been one of my favorites for its atmosphere, Dreadnought Galaxy, which makes you feel like a top secret agent, Master Splatter Galaxy, which has a unique idea going for it, Melty Molten Galaxy, a pretty fun one, and Snowcap Galaxy. This is where all nightmares are born. Okay, so this room has some really good galaxies, but it has two problems. The first is that it doesn't have a Bowser level in it. Now obviously this is to pave way for the final level of the main game, but since every other room has one, that's going to knock off points. The second problem is that it proudly hosts the worst level in the game. Snowcap, this level is bad. Moving on to number 4, we have the fountain. Too bad most of the water is being flushed into the fabric of space. In this room you can find the Space Junk Galaxy, which is an oddly beautiful level, Battle Rock Galaxy, the area that the Top Men tribe has called their own, Rolling Green Galaxy, a Super Monkey Ball ripoff, Very Scurry Galaxy, the planet of tiles and tunes, Sling Pod Galaxy, aka the massive guessing game of doom, and Bowser's Star Reactor. Wow, this one actually has a level! Once again, this room also has 2 of the big ones, with a few others thrown in. It's just this one doesn't have Snowcap Galaxy in it. Kicking off our top 3 is the kitchen. This is all Rosalina has to feed an entire army of Lumas. The featured galaxies of the kitchen are Beach Bull Galaxy, a fun one, Ghostly Galaxy, a ghostly one, Bubble Breeze Galaxy, which is anything but a breeze, Buoy Based Galaxy, a fun level with bombastic music, Drip Drop Galaxy, a level in the game, and Bowser Jr.'s Airship Armada. This room contains one really good level and plenty of other solid ones. The mixture is appreciated as this is around the middle of the game, so this part being more standard makes sense. However, it does knock it down a few places in the ranking, but helps pave way for the next 2 entries and helps them shine that much more. A runner-up on this list is the terrace. Why does the Comet Observatory need a terrace when there are other patches of grass and a garden? Anyways, you probably already know what the galaxies are in this world. We got Good Egg Galaxy, a really good starter level, Honey Hive Galaxy, a blast to play through and discover the Bee Mushroom, Loop-de-Loop Galaxy, a solid showcasing of the motion controls of this game, Flip Switch Galaxy, a short but sweet one, Sweet Sweet Galaxy, a sweet one, and Bowser Jr.'s Robot Reactor that contains the Mega Leg boss fight. This is a really good selection for being the first room. It gives a solid introduction to the rest of the game. It has a good focus on variety, containing an open level, a motion control level, and a boss level. And they all do a good job in teaching the player what Mario Galaxy is all about. The main reason this isn't number 1 is that being the first room, it needs to have easier and somewhat less inspired level ideas, but that's comparing them to the other levels in this game. These are still amazing levels, but still not as good as the number 1 best room, that being the bedroom. Perfect. Not only is this typically my favourite room in any house, but it also contains some of the best levels this game has to offer. And the best levels in the platforming genre just in general. We got Gusty Garden Galaxy, a wonderful zone with a phenomenal soundtrack. Freeze Flame Galaxy, with its bursts of variety containing a mountain climb, a lava escapade, and a coin hunt. Dusty Dune Galaxy, we get to explore the inside of ruins and fly around using tornadoes. Honey Climb Galaxy, a nice simple stage with the unique approaches in its theming. And Big Mouth Galaxy, this is where my wedding will be held. And Bowser's Dark Matter Plant, a weird Bowser level with twists and turns and interesting gimmicks. This room contains 2 of the best levels in this game, a really great level, a fun Bowser level, and a big mouth. This room really has it all and makes for a standout experience in this game. While this game may have some mediocre, forgettable or bad levels, I think that whether you really care about this debate or not, we can all come together and agree that the majority of the levels in this game are masterpieces of design, and deciding which one is better over the other is like picking a favourite side of the sofa. What's the point of choosing when you can enjoy all of it? Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has had its last wave of DLC for a while now, and with my Mario Kart itch finally fully satisfied, the logical next step is to create another itch on my skin and label it Mario Kart 9. Many people have been wondering how Nintendo is going to tackle the next Mario Kart that will be launching on the Switch's successor, the Switch Max as I have called it. I mean, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe ended off with 96 tracks and 48 characters. That's an absurd amount, and no other Mario Kart in the past has even had close to that amount of content. Maybe this is just how it is. As generations go on, Mario Karts will contain more and more content. But this doesn't really answer the question. What the heck is Nintendo going to do with the next Mario Kart? What modes will be in the game? Who is going to be added to the roster? How many stages will there be? Today, I will answer these questions with just a nod of my heart saying I am correct. I put a lot of effort into my videos and your support means everything, so please consider subscribing to help me reach my goal of 3,000 subs. Let's get started. First of all, what is this new Mario Kart going to be called? Obviously, the logical next name would be to follow the trend of what the series has been doing for the past decade or so. It started off with Mario Kart 7, continued with Mario Kart 8, and will continue with Mario Kart La Tonka. Mario Kart 9 is the most likely choice for the name. However, there is a chance that the name could be completely unique, just like Mario Kart Double Dash and even Tour, and Live Home Circuit. So it could really be called anything. Mario Kart Turbo, Mario Kart Horizons, Mario Kart and Bike, New Super Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Knuckles, this is where my money's at. But the most likely option is Mario Kart 9, albeit a bit basic at this point. Next, I shall show some ideas I have for the brand new gimmicks this game has to offer. Every other Mario Kart game has had something it added that impacted or made it stand out compared to the rest of the series. Super Mario Kart was obviously the first Mario Kart. Mario 64 added turbo drifting and depth to the racetracks. Super Circuit added free run mode. Double Dash had its main gimmick of having 2 players on one kart. DS had mission mode and the ability to make your own custom logo. Wii introduced bikes, half pipes and tricking. 7 added gliding and underwater driving, and 8 added anti-gravity. So what will Mario Kart 9 bring to the table? Firstly, what if every character had their own unique traits that gave them pros and cons? Maybe one character could have a higher chance of getting a certain item, but to balance it out, have a lower chance of getting another. Or maybe characters get impacted more or less by certain items, by being shrunk by lightning for a longer or shorter time, or have an effect that lasts longer or shorter. This would add even more depth to the Mario Kart meta. Now it isn't just about choosing your favorite character or picking if you want a lightweight or heavyweight. You can choose a character that has a higher chance of getting stars, but a lower chance of getting mushrooms, or a character that has more time to use the fire flower, but less time to use the piranha plant. I've thought of another idea that could fix one of Mario Kart's biggest problems, the coin dilemma. Coins in Mario Kart 8 are just annoying ways to fill up your item roulette. I mean, what would you rather have, cash or banana skin? I could avoid the police with this. However, coins are actually a good way to balance the item ecosystem. It ensures that you always don't have a defensive item to protect you, so you aren't always in the lead. But I think we can all agree that coins need a better use, so why not use them outside of races? Introducing Lakidu's Shop. Here, you can buy character skins to add to your character roster, and music to add to the music menu. This should give coins a bit more value, and could make you consider actually picking up on wanting coins. I think now is a good time to discuss what characters will be in this game. Mario Kart 8 ended off with 48 characters, which is a good amount, but we can plead. I have made a finalized list of 56 characters that will be in Mario Kart 9. Firstly, these are the characters that I think will return. The ones I have cut are Peachette, Villager, Pink Gold Peach, Baby Daisy and Baby Rosalina, just to cut the fat a little bit. However, the fun lies in the 13 new characters that have been added. Firstly, Nabbit, because he's a Mario character, King Babon, because he's a cool Mario character, Cappy, because he's a Mario character that should be in another game, Goomba, I don't care that he doesn't have arms, George and Chuck to support the cause, Multi-Mole to fix that hole in my heart, Hammer Bro, who you can buy skins for, Paratroopa to add a better Koopa, and Boom Boom to add a mad Koopa. Kirby will be added as a racer because everyone likes him, Samus because she rides spacecrafts, Captain Falcon because he is literally from a racing game, and finally, Rob. He was a character in DS and everyone wants him to return, so sure, have him. I'm sure this roster will satisfy most people except for those who want Squizzard to be a playable character. I won't be supporting that, cause. Enough talk about the characters. What about the items? What items will stay? What items will be added? Will the mushroom cannon be added? Firstly, the items that I think will return will be coin, banana, triple banana, green shell, triple green shell, red shell, triple red shell, blue shell, fake item box, a bomb, mushroom, golden mushroom, bullet bill, star, lightning, horde, Bowser shell, giant banana, fire flower, boomerang flower, ice flower, boo, and the heart. That is quite a selection, but it's to add variety to the character traits that I went over. But what about the new items? Well, I have thought of a few new ones. The first idea is the red star from Super Mario Galaxy. What this item does is that it propels your cart straight ahead for about a second or two, going at about 1.5 times the normal speed. Anyone you collide with along the way will spin out. However, you can't steer while in this state, and crashing into the wall will end the effect. There is also the possibility of falling off because of this item, so it's kind of somewhat of a risk-reward kind of deal. The positions you would get this item in is from 5th place to 9th place. Another item I've thought of is the blue shell. Not the spiny shell, the blue shell. The blue shell. Activating this item will transform you and your cart into a blue shell that travels for 30 seconds. While in the shell, you will be protected from one item, but after that you will be back to normal. You can also bounce off walls and then hit another racer once. You can get this item from 4th place to 6th place. Finally, the cloud flower. This item will spawn a tornado that travels across the road for about 7 seconds. It can hit players and also collect any coins in its path, as well as destroying item boxes and obstacles. This idea totally is not taken from Angry Birds. Carts and bikes will be in this game.
There will be 3 types of drifting assigned to different vehicles: outward drifting, inward drifting, and snake drifting. Now for one of the more interesting parts, the tracks. What will the new tracks be? What tracks will return? I have a few ideas for some new tracks. You know, this makes me realise that in a decade or two, the Mario Kart series will have an overwhelming amount of tracks. Firstly, how about a stage where you drive through a suburban home? Yes, I also think this is an interesting idea. Secondly, how about an underground cave track? We've never really had a fully cave-focused track before, I believe, which is kind of surprising. Maybe a track can have you driving through some sort of palace. Maybe a palace from Sarasaland. A Kenya level could go hard, especially if it's Wario related. A rainforest level could work too. And of course, some fan picks. A Peach's Castle level has some insane potential, especially if it was a section track and you went through the paintings. A level from Mario Odyssey is an interesting concept too. The Metro Kingdom is probably the most likely option. As for the retro tracks, I tried to include only retro tracks that have never been remade before. I have picked 2 SNES tracks from Mario Kart 9, Choco Island 2 and Vanilla Lake 2. Vanilla Lake has never been remade on a mainline Mario Kart, so hopefully they choose this one and make it good. As for N64 tracks, these ones were hard to choose because every single N64 track has been remade except for Wario Stadium, so I choose that as well as DK's Jungle Parkway and Frappe Snowland. I just kinda drew from my hat. The GBA tracks I have selected are Lakeside Park, Broken Pier and Rainbow Road. It's funny because I think I would have preferred it if the Booster Course Pass had Lakeside and Broken Pier instead of Bull Lake and Riverside in the Booster Course Pass. And I picked the GBA Rainbow Road as it could be really interesting to see time trials taking advantage of the bouncy edges. For GameCube, I went with Mushroom City, Bowser's Castle and Wario Coliseum. I hope these tracks are selected because Double Dash is the only Mario Kart I haven't played, so having each track being remade would just be cool. The DS tracks I have chosen are Figure 8 Circuit, Delfino Square and DK Pass. Figure 8 Circuit was the only one not remade, so... For Wii, I chose Toad's Factory, Dry Dry Ruins, and Coconut Mall. Toad's Factory and Dry Dry Ruins were never put in the Booster Course Pass, and I just threw in Coconut Mall in there just cause it's Coconut Mall, everyone likes it. The 3DS tracks are Shy Guy Bazaar, Wario Shipyard, and Woohoo Loop. You get the idea, these have never been put on a console, they would be great, yeah. Now for the Wii U tracks. This is where it gets interesting. I had 4 tracks left to choose. I decided on Shy Guy Falls, Electrodrome, Mount Wario, and Mute City for a collaboration track. There are plenty of other Wii U tracks that should be added, but that's what the DLC is for. The DLC will contain 48 tracks to get the game up to snuff with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This will include a few tour tracks, however not as many as last time. Maybe like 3 city tracks like Athens Dash, New York Minute and Singapore Speedway, along with Piranha Plant Pipeline, as that was the only tour original track that was not added in the Booster Course Pass. The game will be much more customizable than previous Mario Karts, and that's very apparent with the new HUD customization feature. With this tool, you can select what HUD elements appear at what corner of the screen. You can even leave them blank if you really want to, you psychopath. You can move around the position you are in, the item roulette, the map, and maybe even the speedometer or that weird tracking square that Mario 64 had. I have thought of some new modes this game could have. Double Dash mode is exactly what it sounds like, repurposing the system that Double Dash had. This could make character abilities even more in depth, as you could choose 2 characters that have an even better chance of getting the same item. Now you can live in your fantasy of wanting to play with Wendy and PD Piranha at the same time. Destruction mode is a separate mode from the main game, where you're placed in a children's playroom similar to Ribbon Road, and the goal is to fling yourself off a ramp and destroy a tower of Jenga blocks and try to aim for a high score. You'd get 3 or so chances at this. This is also definitely not taken from Angry Birds I Need to Seek Help. The last mode is an add-on you can choose to have in your matches, Challenge mode. You can choose a gimmick to add something like 2 times speed, or item rain, or having fog to cover the map. This is similar to the challenge mode in Splatoon 3, but the difference this time is that you can actually play it. Next, let's talk about the battle mode. Battle mode will be more customizable too, with the ability to turn off the damn time limit. Take that! I've thought of a new mode for battle mode, bumper car mode. Bumper ridges will be placed around your kart, giving it bouncy properties. The goal is to knock off your opponents into a pit to either get rid of all their balloons or have the most points until the time runs out. If a map doesn't have any pits, then laser walls will be placed around it. The battle mode will have 16 tracks this time, with 8 returning from previous games, these being N64 Block Fort, GBA Battle Course 1, GameCube Tilt-A-Kart, DS Tart Top, Wii Funky Stadium, 3DS Sherbet Rink, and Wii U Sweet Sweet Kingdom. And that is all my ideas for a new Mario Kart. Now I should ask the question, when will the new Mario Kart release? People have the mentality of not wanting a new Mario Kart for a while because of how big 8 Deluxe is, but I think it will still be released in the first year of the Switch Max, probably near its launch window.
With the rise of video games becoming movies in the recent years, it only leaves one question. which of these will also be? At this point, it seems as if the gates have opened for any game to get an adaptation on the big screen. Lately, there have been games you never expect to get a movie actually getting one. Borderlands, Five Nights at Freddy's, even Angry Birds. So today, we got a tier list here. S is the games that I think are certain to get an adaptation at some point, and F are the games that will never leave the consoles. Subscribe to help me reach my goal of 3,000 subs, it really means a lot. Donkey Kong. With the booming success of the Mario movie, it is bound to spawn plenty of spin-offs, and I think the most likely option is a Donkey Kong movie, or maybe even a mini-film of sorts. The movie could focus on the origins of the Kong family and their story about fighting the crocodiles or something. I don't know, I'll be giving this an A tier. I think that is quite likely. Kirby. Since Pokemon, Mario and Zelda are getting movie adaptations. I'd like to think that those aren't the only Nintendo games getting their own films, and I think a likely option is Kirby. With Kirby having interesting lore, plenty of characters, and an anime, I don't think it's completely impossible for the Marshmallow to get a movie. The only problem I think could arise from the plans of this is getting the approval of not only Nintendo, but HAL Laboratory. Aside from that, I think Kirby has a decent shot, so I will give him a B tier. Metroid. Seeing as Metroid is less of a children's franchise and is aimed at your everyday serious gamer, I don't think this will be Nintendo's next choice of a film adaptation. That being said, it would be an interesting movie. Having Samus exploring areas in space could make for a long movie. However, with Metroid being far from Nintendo's most successful series, and the Metroid folk putting their focus towards Prime 4, I think I will give this a C tier. Star Fox. This is probably not going to happen, as Star Fox is an even less popular series than Metroid. It is also a smaller series consisting of 9 games spanning about 30 years. If there is a space-themed franchise Nintendo would choose to make a movie on, it would either be Metroid or Mario Galaxy. D tier. Splatoon. As the years have went on, Splatoon has become one of Nintendo's most supported franchises. This has to be the Nintendo game with some of the most deep and interesting lore, so it would be a treat to see this expanded upon. Splatoon is also a very unique idea that can make for a fun watch, so I will put this into A tier. Animal Crossing. In my opinion, this has probably the least chance of getting a movie out of Nintendo's bigger franchises. I mean, if Animal Crossing gets a movie, then Sims can also get one, and if that is the case, how could they even make a Sims movie, let alone an Animal Crossing movie? With the genre of Animal Crossing lacking any real story, I can't ever see this series getting its own hour-and-a-half long film, so I am giving this one an F. Smash Bros. For some reason, this is one of the biggest Nintendo franchises when it comes to speculation in terms of it getting a movie, but I don't think there's much of a chance of it happening. Firstly, if they weren't to include third-party characters, which at this point is half the appeal of Smash Bros, they would have to get the rights of about 20 to 30 different game franchises, which doesn't seem to be worth it to make a film for. Secondly, if they were only going to use Nintendo characters, then not only would they need to make a consistent art style, seeing as Pikachu has already been put into a real-life adaptation, and Mario and DK have been put into an animated one. So as much as it would be cool to have a Smash Bros movie, I don't really ever see this happening, so I'll throw it into D tier. Crash Bandicoot. If Sony was to capitalize off the success of video game movies, then I feel as if they would choose a more light-hearted character to combat the Mario movie. So I think they would probably choose Crash first. Would this mean the movie would be better than a different Sony game getting a movie? Probably not, but I don't think this is impossible. Yet at the same time, I don't really see Sony doing anything like this, so I'm giving Crash Bandicoot a C. God of War. It would be very unique to make a video game movie that is also loosely based off of Greek mythology, and seeing as God of War is one of the most popular PlayStation games, I think this stands right beside Crash Bandicoot as Sony's first choice for a movie, so I'll put this into C. Ratchet & Clank. Once again, one of Sony's other highly regarded franchises that would have a decent shot if Sony were to ever make a video game movie. From what I know, Ratchet & Clank is a much more story-driven franchise than Crash, with them trying to stop Dr. Neo Cortez and everything, so I'll also put this into C to balance things out nicely. Horizon. Now, a quick disclaimer, I know next to nothing about this series, so take everything I am saying with a grain of salt. From what I have gathered, while playing Horizon, you play as Aloy, stuck in a post-apocalyptic world. The story takes place in some of the United States, so that immediately sets the idea of the film being a real-life adaptation. The world is overrun by robots, and yeah, I guess this sounds interesting enough to get a B, I guess. Banjo-Kazooie. The unfortunate downfall of the Bear and Bird probably means we're never getting a movie on it, let alone a new game. Banjo-Kazooie was never really a franchise driven by story anyway, and its lack of relevance means this one is getting an F. Smash Bros is the only thing saving this, but that isn't enough if nothing is happening with the series itself. Undertale. This might be the game I would like to see get a movie the most. The rich and unique story, lovable characters, and impressive popularity could lead to this getting a movie. Toby Fox definitely has the writing skills to produce an entire film-length story, seeing as he basically did that already, so I am giving this an A tier. The reason it isn't S is because it is still an indie game at the end of the day. Deltarune. This is somewhat in the same boat as Undertale, however seeing as Deltarune isn't as popular, isn't going to be finished for another few years, and the story's not being as deep, don't give it much of a chance of getting a movie, so I will give it a C tier. Cuphead. Cuphead isn't the most story-driven game out there, but it does have a TV series, proving it is possible to make a movie out of these two Cupheads. Since Cuphead just finished the DLC, they could put their attention to a movie, so I will give this a B rank. Celeste. This is quite a tricky one, as on the one hand, Celeste is probably the most story-driven platformer of all time, and its plot definitely meets all the requirements of making a good movie. Watching Madeline's journey up Celeste Mountain, discovering its secrets could be very enticing. However, Celeste is far from the most popular game out there, and the company probably doesn't have the resources to make a film, so I will drop this into D tier. Journey. Now, Journey is one of those games that really feels like it lacks anything. It lacks gameplay, it lacks story, but that's kind of the entire point of it. You play this game for the experience, to feel the sense of atmosphere and loneliness this game emits as you travel through the desert. But I don't think a figure walking through a desert for 2 hours would make for a great movie, so I'm putting this into F. Seeing as Minecraft has received a movie, it isn't impossible for Terraria to follow suit. Terraria also puts much more emphasis on story and progression in comparison to Minecraft, so getting a movie on this game can happen, so B tier it is. Among Us. Despite losing traction over the last few years, Among Us is still going strong, receiving updates and even getting a TV show. Despite not having a story, it still managed to get a series. So getting a detective sci-fi horror movie on this game could be quite special, so I'm saying B tier. Pizza Tower. The plot of Pizza Tower, if you can even call it that, follows Peppino ascending up a tower. Yep, F. Lethal Company. I don't think this game could even benefit from getting a movie, but it isn't impossible. The gameplay is interesting, having to collect scrap pieces and avoid manifestations. D. Fortnite. Fortnite could build a story based off of Save the World, but I don't think they would want to make a movie with buff Peter Griffin without getting some kind of permissions. D tier. Roblox. What story could Roblox themselves even call their own? Would they borrow from the games their users made, such as Doors, Pizza Place, or Dead Silence? I have no idea. D tier. Fall Guys. Yet again, what are these beans going to do for an hour and a half? Train to become the best Fall Guy? D. Team Fortress 2. Heavy and Spy joined forces to become the best team of fortresses the world has ever seen. F. Overwatch. This game actually has a story about being in the future about robots turning against humans, so sure, I guess this one has a bit more potential. C tier. Portal. Finally, a game that's actually built off of a story. The concept of Portal alone shouldn't just be kept to a game. It can and should easily expand to other mediums such as movies, and I think this will happen at some point. Portal is definitely going to evolve as a game and broaden the idea to other forms of entertainment. So with that in mind, along with the fact that Portal is a highly renowned franchise and Valve is a very successful company, I am giving this game our first S tier. Hello Neighbor. The story behind Hello Neighbor is definitely worthy of getting a movie, especially since it has received a TV show of its own. However, I don't think Tiny Build is going to expand from gaming anytime soon, so I'm putting this into D tier. Baldi's Basics. I am quite conflicted on this one when thinking about if the story is even there to make a good film. The implications of Baldi's Basics being an actual game and not existing, while Null is trying to get you to delete it, has the chance to work, but I have no idea how they could extend it for an hour and a half, so I'm giving this a D. Cut the Rope. Seeing as Angry Birds has received a movie, it's not impossible for other mobile games to get ones too. Cut the Rope is, in many ways, similar to Angry Birds. Both series have received spin-offs to the main game, sequels that have thousands of levels, and their very own TV series. And seeing as Angry Birds is a paper-thin movie game about flinging balls at wooden towers, they could definitely make a movie about an alien eating candy, so I'm going bold and giving this a B. Subway Surfers. Subway Surfers is another mobile game that, despite not having a story, can still get a movie. It is one of the most successful mobile games of all time, has also received a TV series, and has the resources to make a movie, so what the heck, I'm giving this A tier. Jetpack Joyride. Unlike Angry Birds, Cut the Rope, and Subway Surfers, Jetpack Joyride has never received a TV series. It is also not as successful as any of these other games. Half-Brick doesn't seem like the company to take advantage of the movie market, so I'm giving this a D tier. And finally, Plants vs Zombies. I know this was planned to get a movie and was cancelled, but I still believe that one day we will see a Plants vs Zombies movie. The idea of Plants vs Zombies is too perfect to not get a movie. A survival thriller experience by Crazy Dave building a plant army to survive the zombie apocalypse. That would be a really interesting movie. And seeing as EA owns PopCap, inheriting them more money, PVZ being a household name, and still being relevant to this day, I am giving this a solid S tier. And that is all I have today. Let me know if I should make a sequel to this video discussing more games that I didn't mention. Subscribe as it genuinely means a lot.